Hello and welcome to the Empowered Wisdom Hour. We are moving into the last week of September 2020, and I'm your host, Molly McCartney. For those who don't know me, I'm a spiritual life coach, wisdom channel, and an energy therapist with over 20 years of experience on the path. My mission is to help empower your wisdom and spiritual gifts so you can find peace no matter what you are dealing with. This week's message is living on purpose for the good of the whole. And this theme came up because of the Earthkeeper card that popped up in my messages to the public this week. And the Earthkeeper card in the deck that I use, the message to the receiver is that when everything is stabilized, when you're walking through the world and getting your basic needs met, getting the mundane handled, and you kind of feel like, what's next? What am I here for? What's the point? It's really good at that point in your life and in your journey to look to the bigger question of what purpose did I come here for? And what can I offer? What can I contribute to the good of the whole, not only for the health and the balance of the earth and the planet, but also for the spiritual well-being of people around me, and of course for yourself. So when all else is lost or complete, start asking what part you can play for the good of the whole. Why did you come here? How are you wired to help? How are you wired to bring balance and well-being to the little corner of the world that you occupy? How can you leave that piece of the world a better place than how you found it or how you came into it? And that, this applies especially to those who have done their shadow work, done their healing work from their past, and have come to a place of acceptance of the now into presence and kind of feel like, well, what's next for me? Well, that's what's next. You give yourself back to the whole and in service to help other people find the peace that you've found. So another question you may be asking yourself is, how can you contribute to the healing of the planet when everything is such a mess and everything is in this state of chaos and destruction, or seemingly so? I know media would like us to think that, or maybe we're creating a media that would like us to reinforce those visions of ourselves. But how can, in your personal interactions, can you offer that bit of light and that bit of wellness, that spark of the divine that is in all of us? And how can you be a part of that rather than part of the destruction of the planet and of the well-being of our internal natures? So the important thing is to, find out what your talents, gifts, and skills are, whether those are spiritual gifts and skills or just gifts of being a great parent or a teacher, or perhaps you hold power in a company that has a lot of pull in the world, and you can make a big difference with, monetary aspects and policy making aspects. If you are spiritually gifted, perhaps you're a direct light worker in service to others, or doing healing work or counseling work of some kind. And, for those who are not called into the work as a profession in any way, there's something called a frequency holder, and Eckhart Tolle coined that term in his book, A New Earth. And some will, some like me, I do this work every day. It's what I do for a living. And I also advise a lot of my clients who are looking for that sense of purpose, that perhaps what their sense of purpose is to come to that state of wholeness and that state of well-being for themselves and allow it to touch everyone they come into contact with. So, it's the person behind the register at the store. It's someone you're sitting next to on the plane. It's a family member or a friend you haven't talked to for a while, or just being there and being that healing presence for people in your life. And to tell you the truth, that's the stuff that heals the whole world. I am grateful to do the work that I do, but unless I bring that into my personal sphere and into my personal interactions, then I would just be adding to the destruction outside of my work and then doing the work when I'm working. And that doesn't work, for lack of a better phrase. So it's important to be in integrity with the peace, wisdom, and love you wish to see in the world. And that's the best way to be on purpose. Make it your purpose to share that peace with everyone you come into contact with. And if you're not at peace for a day, as I've been very transparent about, I do this, this work, I teach, I coach, I help people, but I'm human. I have my days where I'm grumpy and tired and I need to go and be a hermit and heal away from the world. And I know in each moment must ask myself, if I'm not feeling that balance, if I'm not feeling that wellness, what do I need? What do I need to find it again, to get back into alignment, to get back into that state of well-being that I know is now my baseline. It was not always my baseline. Depression was my baseline. Disappointment was my baseline for many, many years when I was a young adult. And all the spiritual work that I've done and the experiences that I've had and the questions that I've asked have led to this point where I'm able to help people rise up to that place outside of those spaces that they want to be, into that balance as a support for that. So you can do it too. There's a lot of ways to do that. Remember, everyone you come into contact with is both a teacher and a student, and the same vice versa. You are a teacher and a student for everyone you come into contact with as well. So ask yourself, what am I teaching here? What message am I offering this person? What energy am I sharing with them? What are we creating together? And that is a really great way to stay present and on purpose. And finally, again, don't judge your progress. You're human. You're never going to be able to extract that spiritually aware higher self from your humanity. So you'll always have those low feeling days. You'll always have those human needs. You'll always have your grumps and your frumps and your whatever. And maybe you have your dark nights that last a little while, but don't judge your progress, because in the end, all of this is an inside game, so to speak, or an inside process about your inner world and how you experience the outer world through the filter of what's inside. So as usual on these mini episodes, and I've gotten some feedback that some of you, or hopefully all of you, are enjoying this new format, I went in and asked my inner guidance to bring forth a more eloquent message about this subject. I went into deep meditation just the other day and wrote this down, and I'll share it with you today. And it's, I call it my message from the silence, living on purpose for the good of the whole. You may have a lot of ideas about what it means to do your part in this life you are living. Many people struggle long and hard to figure out what their part is, what their purpose is, in order to get a sense of serving the greater good. We hope to remind you of this today. It is much simpler than you make it out to be, this living on purpose idea. And as we will often, if not always, tell you, the truth and certainty you are looking for in this area is not in what it means or the grades you might give to the different purposes. It is in how it feels to be living in your own life, focusing on your path and serving the greater good from where you are with the quality of your energetic footprint. There's a saying on planet Earth, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints. Many of you are also concerned about what you call a carbon footprint, etc., etc. But one thing many of you miss is the quality of your energetic footprint. You may believe that if you do all the right things and believe all the good things, it makes you a positive being and a source of goodness for the whole. And yet you are resentful in your relationships. You're in a negative spiral when it comes to your work. You're cursing each other to oblivion in traffic. And when you see the mess of the world at large, you judge quickly and harshly. You are often unapproving of yourself, and if not, you over-justify your negative aspects. All of this affects the energy you actually emit into the world around you. This is your raindrop on the invisible water of human consciousness. This is the footprint you leave behind, not your goodwill, your charity, your belief in a higher power, or your good deeds done. You see, when you are managing your energy to leave the most peaceful and loving essence possible in your wake, you are serving your purpose. But what about the murderers? What about the criminals, you may ask? If everyone has a purpose, what is theirs? And we will tell you that in their detachment from purpose, they are teaching everyone they hurt what happens when energy is left unmanaged to the extreme. Like a child in a dark and dismal candy store, People who harm others recklessly, or even with intention, are addicted to finding relief from the disarray and disconnection they feel almost all of the time. In many cases, their minds, bodies, and spirits separate and are no longer working as one. All parts of the soul hover in various places on the lifeline, and all they find is despair when they focus in on their inner world. And so to gain power, they turn outward to ground themselves in the world with a dark purpose. And this purpose perpetuates until, as a soul, they begin to realize this will never give them the wholeness they seek. It will always lead to madness and more despair. And what of the victims? There is something called a soul contract that we will talk about another time in further detail. But for now, we will say there's an agreement between souls to experience certain trials in a lifetime, or a number of lifetimes. The awakening of the victim comes when they begin to realize a piece of their being often gets stuck in the lifeline near the time of victimization. And until they focus on the deep task of calling that piece back home and reweaving their energy back into a state of wholeness, they are bound to repeat the experience of victimization until they do. Every repeated difficulty is a lesson in returning to wholeness, or that which you would call healing. There is healing and there is destruction, coming together or breaking apart, wholeness or brokenness. All is relative to each and every soul. So, while one person may feel deeply victimized by a horrible crime, another may feel victimized by a boring life. One may feel victimized by an affliction, while the other is made broken by a few unkind words. It's important to acknowledge your state of being and do not compare it to others, because when your judgments get involved, you cannot do what your spirit is asking of you. You will overthink it, sometimes for years. You must decide that no matter where you have been, what has happened to you, and what you are currently experiencing, whether you choose to be on the path of destruction or the path of healing. Never mind what your neighbor is choosing. You have indeed been given free will, as they say. And each and every one of you has also been given a direct line to the source of all things, the greatest intelligence you could ever imagine, and yet it is completely beyond your comprehension. This is the path of connection we hope you will choose, and it is the path you must choose if you wish to live with purpose, on purpose, for the good of the whole. And as you know, your planet is a place of duality. The duality changes form: light, dark, chaotic, calm, good, bad, beautiful, ugly, balanced, unfair, and so on. You must decide to stand firmly in the middle of each truth, knowing that it is in the balance between the opposite where wisdom lies, and where understanding is possible. So many run after enlightenment through novel experiences, and yet forget to practice each and every day in the observant place in the middle. When you stand in the middle of opposites, you can see the qualities of all without judgment, and without judgment you can more easily hear your heart and soul directing you to a sense of effectiveness, to purpose. In other words, you can see better what it is that you're able to do from the place of observance. Otherwise, all you are doing is reacting to stimuli, and we promise you there is no purpose in such a place, and it will eventually tear you to pieces, thereby putting you on the path of destruction. So manage your energy and commit to the path of healing and integration for yourself and your particular story. The more whole you begin to feel, the more apparent your purpose will become. You will indeed remember who you really are and why you are here, beyond the many lives you have already lived. Keep asking yourself, who is my spiritual self? Not my name, job, age, gender, nationality, personality, wealth, past life, self-interest, etc. But who am I as an eternal being of light, spun out by the great source of all things? It is living in the question that you will find your higher purpose for the good of the whole. We'll let you discover the rest on your own, as we know on multiple levels of being human, you prefer it that way. That is all for now. We send you waves of balance, wellness, and calm. As your allies in spirit, we look forward to enjoying each and every discovery right alongside you. Okay, welcome back. I think I think they gave us a talking to today. That's what I felt like reading it. I got a talking to. Maybe you felt that way too, and hopefully it's the good kind, where it spoke to that deepest part of yourself that knows that you are light, that you have power, that you have purpose, and there's a reason for all of this. Thank you so much for joining me for this mini episode of the Empowered Wisdom Hour. Again, this has been Molly McCartney. I'm a spiritual life coach, wisdom channel, and energy therapist with over 20 years of experience. My mission is to help empower your wisdom and spiritual gifts so you can find peace no matter what you are dealing with. I invite you to take the next step with me by doing one of three things, or all of them, if you'd like. Number one, follow me at Empower Your Wisdom on Facebook and Instagram for daily inspiration and encouragement. Number two, if you enjoy this show and want to just stay a listener, I invite you to follow me on Podbean and give a small monthly donation. Learn more on my Podbean homepage by clicking the Become a Patron button. And number three, you can visit my website at mollymccartney.com and sign up for a free one-on-one call to learn how we can connect and I can be of service to your spiritual well-being on a more personal basis. For now, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Wishing you well, hoping today's show was very helpful, and may you be well till next time. The music on this show is from the album Tranquility by the Sea by David James Nielsen and Bob Jr. Check it out at cdbaby.com.